What's going on YouTube? Bacon here bringing another video. This one gonna be my week 6 battle for the VPL. This week is another interdivisional week, so we are taking on Dick, coach of the Snorlaxatives. He's coming into this game at 3-2, so big game early on for him in terms of making playoffs and playoff seeding. And we of course are coming in at 5-0, looking to keep the strong start rolling for this season. Obviously, only a couple wins here, I think, from clinching a playoff spot, but would always like to grab that number 1 seed if possible. We played Dick 3 times previously in the VPL. The first time, he took over a team and then made some changes. I think, it was rain-based. It was in Season 2. We won that game, I believe, 3 or 4-0. And then in Season 3 of the VPL, we played Week 1, and he stomped me. He won something like, I think it was only a 3-0 in the end, but it was bad. And then we played again in playoffs last season, and I did manage to scrape out a 1-0 win. It came down to a gunk shot hitting from my Greninja. So Dick's a very good player. He's got a very scary team. Let's get right into the matchup here. He's got on his team the Kyurem Black, Primarina, Chestnut, Crobat, Hitmontop, Vivillon, Megametric, Entei, Crocodile, Starmie, and Palisand, and his Z users were Kyurem Black, Chestnut, and Entei. So, a couple things right off the bat. I don't know if he's going to want to bring Kyurem Black this game. It's always a huge problem to prep for, but I do have some good offensive responses for it on my team in terms of Victini and Hydreigon. I have my Mega Aggron as well, so you can't just spam Ice-type moves at me. You'd have to at least run Earth Power. Probably some special attack investment. I saw him run Z Earth Power to pick off, or not pick off, to just straight blow away a Mega Steelix the other day. So I did kind of think maybe that might come. But if he is special, my Vaporeon should do pretty well against it. Even if he's like mixed, he's either not going to have the investment to get past my Aggron, or he's not going to have the investment to do enough damage to my Vaporeon. So not sure if he'd want to bring it, but always a huge threat as usual. Primarina is 100% coming. It's his only real response to my Hydreigon, clicking Dark Pulse. I mean, he does have Chestnut, but like that thing's not going to appreciate Draco Meteor or Fire Blast, so Primarina seems like his best response on that end. I know he loves Assault Vest, so I'm thinking Assault Vest Primarina. If not Assault Vest, Choice Specs is good versus my team too. I really don't have good switch-ins to Choice Specs Primarina, as long as he keeps clicking the right move. Megametric is also 100% coming. I brought Tornadus every game. It outspeeds my Tornadus. It's actually just got a good matchup against my team in general, so I expect to see the Manetric. Other than that, he's got a few options. Starmie could definitely come for sure. The spin would be really nice to keep my Toxic Spikes off the field, which, spoiler, I am bringing Toxic Spikes this week. So like Natural Cure, Rapid Spin Starmie could be a little bit annoying. It's at a speed tier and gets good enough coverage that it could be somewhat problematic for my team. And I did have a small inkling that the Palisand would end up coming, as you see it on your screen there. It's a really, really good check to Buzzwole and also to Mega Aggron to some extent as well. Obviously I can Toxic it, but otherwise I'm not doing too much to that thing, and he could just kind of shore up in my face. So Palisand I wouldn't be too surprised to see, as I do here. It also takes hits from like Physical Victini fairly well, Physical Kamala fairly well, so not really too surprised that that thing's sitting there, but yeah, other than that, let's get into my team builder here. This week was, I don't want to say I got uncreative with it, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time on the team build. At this point, this team's kind of building itself. Like, Wish Pass into Mega Aggron, run Tornadus doing something, and then figure out the rest from there. It's basically been the strategy this season. So, really like building with the team, but it's starting to get, not necessarily linear, but just kind of easy to know what I'm going to bring each week. So, leading off here with Bird Brain the Tornadus, running Flynium Z Tornadus, U-Turn, Hurricane, Defog, and Knockoff. Like I mentioned, I think he might be running Assault Vest Primarina, but even if he's running Choice Specs, the Knockoff is really nice to remove whatever item he's carrying. He doesn't have great switch-ins to Flynium Z in general. His kind of best resist, I think, is the Megametric, which obviously does not want to take it. Does he even have a Steel type? I don't think he has a Steel type, so yeah, no Steel type on his team. I should have mentioned that earlier. So again, we're in a situation where my opponent's only flying resist is their electric type, this time being the Megametric. I obviously threaten out the Chestnut very well with this set. Even just spamming Hurricane and that thing is nice. If he tries to Spike Stacks me, I can Defog into Hurricane and then get a 100% accurate Hurricane off. It's just a nice pairing on Tornadus, having the Defog with Hurricane. I did need Defog this week just to clear hazards, because other than my Toxic Spikes, I don't care too much about keeping hazards up on his side of the field this game. Like, it would be nice to get up my Stealth Rocks, but I don't really need them. Toxic Spikes are more important, and once I've gotten poisons off on the right things, I can just defog them away and get rid of Stealth Rocks. Stealth Rocks are a little bit problematic for my team that I brought this week, specifically for the Tornadoes, of course. And then U-turn just for typical Tornadoes momentum. Next up here, we've got Ron Swanson the Mega Aggron, running a kind of jank Mega Aggron set. Again, we're running the Max Spadef Impish Nature set, so being able to take on physical hits from things like Crocodile this game is pretty nice. And I have Iron Head, Metal Burst, Toxic, and Protect on this set, so Toxic plus Protect is pretty self-explanatory. I do have Toxic Spikes on the team, but in the event that I'm not able to keep them up or whatever, like, Roserade doesn't take a whole lot of hits from this team, so getting a Toxic off on something like Chestnut coming in, Palisand coming in, Crocodile coming in, all that would be really nice for me if he's like predicting me to go for a Stealth Rock. Protect, obviously, to chip him away. If I have Toxic Spikes up, even better that I have the Protect. It's a good way to scat out like a potentially Choice Lock variant of Entei as well, just to make sure he's not doing any weird shenanigans from my Vaporeon in the back. And then Metal Burst is really cool tech. I can live, I believe, a Choice Band Sacred Fire from Entei. I can live Earthquakes from Crocodile. I can live Overheats from Mega Manectric. I can clearly live a Volt Switch from Manectric. I just fire off Metal Burst and get some big chip damage off on his team. I did the calcs, and I think if he overheats me with Manectric and I Metal Burst it, it should die, depending on his HP investment, of course, but it should die if he overheats me as I go for Metal Burst. And even if he goes for Volt Switch, I'm getting a big chunk of damage off on something like Palisand or Entei or Chestnut coming in, and that might kind of incentivize a Palisand or a Chestnut to heal up on me, go for Synthesis or Shore Up, as I go for a Toxic. So that's kind of the idea behind Mega Aggron. Just spread some nice chip around his team and hopefully get to cleaning with some of the more offensive mons in the back. Next up here is Vaporeon. Grace the Vaporeon, running a pretty standard set. Scald, Toxic, Wish, Protect with leftovers. Max HP, close to max defense, but running a, what's that, Calm Nature? Yeah, plus Spadef, minus attack, Calm Nature on the Vaporeon. This is so I can take some special hits better from things on his team. Things like Manectric I can live a Thunderbolt from if I need to, get off a Wish. Not that I necessarily want to be in that situation in the first place, but if he's just going for Volt Switch, for example, I can kind of deny him getting momentum by just going for Volt Switch, especially if Toxic Spikes are up. Vaporeon really just kind of sits on his team. Protect also allows me to scat out Z moves from the Kyurem Black, and the extra little Spadef boost that I get from running the Calm Nature lets me take hits better from Primarina. I should not be 2-hit KO'd by Energy Ball from modest non-choice specs or non-damage boosting item Primarina after leftovers, which is good. That way I can kind of remove some of the prediction game. Like if he's in on Piloswine, I don't have to decide whether he's going to go for Energy Ball or for a Water type move. I can just go out into Vaporeon and not care. So yeah, pretty standard Vaporeon set. Obviously a little bit stally, but that's just kind of what Vaporeon does. Next up here is Piloswine. Gurgi the Piloswine coming back with Eviolite, Thick Fat, Earthquake, Icicle Crash, Ice Shard, and Stealth Rock, running max HP. Adamant with close to max attack. I can't remember what I was speed creeping here. It might have been something like no speed Primarina, just in case I needed to clean that thing up with an Earthquake late game. Yeah, it looks to be about what the speed investment's for. Anyways, pretty standard Piloswine set, running Stealth Rocks on this instead of my Mega Aggron. I felt like all the moves on Mega Aggron were kind of necessary. Oh, I didn't even mention on Mega Aggron, I ran Iron Head over Heavy Slam because he's got a lot of heavy stuff. Like Kyurem Black, for instance, I think Heavy Slam's only a 40 base power move versus, so Iron Head in general just did more damage to his team. But Piloswine here, running pretty standard set with Stealth Rocks. Ice Shard is nice to pick off things like the Crobat or a weakened Crocodile, even a weakened Manectric, or I can get chip off on that thing as well. And Icicle Crash is just there to hit things like the Palisand and Chestnut a little bit harder if I really need to. The main purpose of this Piloswine is to check the Mega Manectric. Overheat should not be able to 2-hit KO me due to my HP investment. Piloswine is a very bulky boy, and I do have Thick Fat on there, so Overheat will not be 2-hit KOing me from his Manectric. I don't even think he'd run Hidden Power Grass, but it would do even less damage than Overheat. So Piloswine's a pretty good switch into that thing. I can get up Stealth Rocks, especially if I'm predicting him to go for an Electric type move. He should not want to stand on me going for Earthquake. So yeah, Piloswine pretty important in this match, but it's definitely something that I want to keep healthy if at all possible, especially as long as the Manectric's alive. Next up here, we've got Roserade, running Black Sludge Roserade with Natural Cure. learned my lesson from last week. If I'm going to take status on Roserade, I might as well be getting rid of it when I switch out. We got Giga Drain, Extra Sensory, Toxic Spikes, and Leech Seed. Running max HP, close to max SPDEF. I believe I still had to speed creep something. Oh boy, what was I speed creeping this week, Mark says. I don't even know. Well, I was speed creeping something, I swear. But yeah, I was speed creeping something. Can't remember what it was, but Roserade here, getting pretty good mileage out of just Giga Drain plus Extra Sensory. I'm not carrying a Poison type move because it actually wouldn't hit the Chestnut anyways. I'm assuming he'd be running Bulletproof this week, and Roserade does not get access to Sludge Wave, so I'd have to run Sludge Bomb, which can't hit things that are bulletproof. Extra Sensory still does pretty good damage to that thing. Should do about 50% if he's like FizzDef. And it also does pretty good damage to the Crobat coming in. Obviously won't O-Code or anything like that, but if Stealth Rocks are up, I'm getting good chip off on that thing. I'll force him to go for Roost, be able to get in things like my Aggron, Hydreigon, Vaporeon. Like, I can get in stuff on the Crobat after I force it to Roost with my Roserade. Crobat seems like the most likely switch into this thing anyway, so Extra Sensory was just kind of good coverage there. Toxic Spikes are super important in this match. He has no grounded Poison type, nor any Steel type on his team, so literally everything but Crobat is going to be affected by Toxic Spikes, and with the Protect on Vaporeon, Protect on Aggron, some of the bulk on my team between Wish Pass from Vaporeon to Aggron to Piloswine, and even the bulk on my Roserade, like, that's all going to come in really, really clutch. Leech Seed is there just to predict switch-ins to specifically the Crobat. In this instance, I can Leech Seed up, get out into my Mega Aggron and heal it up, whatever kind of damage he's going to want to go for. I have noticed that he likes running Super Fang Crobat, so Leech Seed should help to alleviate some of the damage that thing might be doing to me upon switching. And Roserade is just really, really important here to keep up that Toxic Spike. I don't really need 2 layers. 1 layer is enough because it's going to chip down things like the Manectric a little bit faster, which doesn't generally stay on the field a whole lot anyways. I don't need 2 layers, but it's not the worst thing in the world to get 2 layers up to help whittle down things like the Chestnut and the Palisand. Last up here, we've got Alduin the Hydreigon. This is Choice Scarf Hydreigon. I needed some speed control this week just because he had a lot of fast options like Starmie, like the Manectric, like the Crobat. I just needed some speed control this week with Hydreigon. Draco Meteor, I think, is a roll to OHKO offensive variants of Crobat, as well as to OHKO Manectric. Dark Pulse is obviously going to blow up that Starmie unless he's running Colbur Berry. And I've got U-Turn to scout that out anyways. And then Fire Blast was just kind of the last move I threw on. It hits Chestnut pretty hard in case he decided to run that as kind of his Hydreigon check. I'm expecting the Hydreigon check to be the Primarina. Even offensive Primarina could come in for pretty free on Hydreigon, so I'm going to have to U-Turn out a lot predicting that thing to come in. Otherwise, Hydreigon's actually got a decent chance at a late game clean here if I can remove the Chestnut and the Primarina. That's it for the team builder this week. Like I mentioned, somewhat standard stuff this week, bar maybe the Aggron set, but yeah, let's get right into the match here. So looking at what he brought, Dick brought the Manectric, Primarina, Entei, Crobat, Palisand, and Chestnut. So pretty much what I was expecting. Glad to see no Kyurem Black, even though I don't think it had a great matchup versus me. It's always good to not see Kyurem Black rather than see Kyurem Black, especially because like Mold Breaker, well, Terravolt ignores Thick Fat on my Piloswine and stuff like that. It actually still could have been a pretty decent threat to me. So I'm glad it's not here, obviously. Wow, sorry, voice squeak. I'm glad it's not here, obviously. But yeah, looking at what he brought here, I'm pretty sure he's just going to lead with Manectric. The only thing that matches up badly against my team is the Piloswine, really, for the most part. So I'm pretty sure he'd lead with Manectric versus me, and that's the perfect opportunity for me to lead with my Mega Aggron and just get off a Volt Switch. Or as he gets off a Volt Switch here, I can just go right for Metal Burst. I don't know if he'd Volt Switch turn 1 just because I do have the Piloswine in the back, and you don't necessarily want to let that thing in for free. So what I'm going to do here is just go right for the Metal Burst. If he stays in to overheat me, I should kill him with Metal Burst. Otherwise, he's probably Volt Switching out. I'm going to get a big chunk of damage on something coming in. I'm expecting it either to be the Entei, Palisand, or Chestnut coming in on me, and chip damage on any of those things is good, specifically the Entei because it has no way to heal itself up. And if I can get a Toxic off on it as well, it's going to be great for my Vaporeon later on. Going to really alleviate some of the pressure that's on it because it does have a lot of jobs to do this game. So gonna go right for the Metal Burst, as I said, get some big chip damage off on this Entei. Looks like he's not running a ton of HP investment, but he is running a little bit. I'm just gonna go for Protect to scout out what this Entei is gonna do, expecting it to be something like a Choice Band type set. as he reveals the Toxic. So clearly that was meant to catch my Vaporeon. I don't know, like that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a Choice Locked variant of Entei, so I have to switch out here just in case, because I don't want to take a ton more damage on my Aggron right now since that Crobat's still really healthy. So what I'm going to do is go out into Hydreigon. Hydreigon was a good middle ground play because if he went for a Fire-type move, I could obviously come in on that. Or if he went for another Toxic, I didn't super mind Hydreigon being Toxic. So here I'm going to U-turn, predicting a Primarina switch in, as Dick predicts me to predict that and stays in with his Palossand, gets some Rocky Helmet chip off on me, and gets up his Stealth Rocks, unfortunately. So a little bit annoying, but because I get my Roserade in for free here, I can just freely go for a Toxic Spike. As you see, they body his team. Like, Crobat's obviously coming in here, but he's going to have to get rid of this Toxic Spike. Like, he can't afford to leave that up and start switching around and getting things poisoned. He has no Cleric on his team either, so he can't afford to leave that Toxic Spike up. I'm just going to go out into Mega Aggron. Not sure if he'd go right for the Defog here, but either way, it's kind of my best case scenario to go into the Aggron, as he just goes for Super Fang. So he did bring Super Fang Crobat. Leads me to believe this is a more kind of a bulky set with like Super Fang. Now I see Defog, maybe like U-turn and Roost, or Air Slash, or not Air Slash, Brave Bird and Roost. Air Slash, spoilers, he is special Crobat. But yeah, I was thinking just like not too much they can really do to touch Aggron. Even if he starts to Super Fang me down, like this is really only here for the Crobat anyway. So here I'm going to predict him to U-turn out and actually go for a Toxic. Basically, even if he stayed in with Crobat, like I said, he wasn't doing a whole lot to me, and I was expecting him to switch out after seeing that massive amount of Iron Head damage. So getting a Toxic off on Chestnut is super, super good for me. I can just go out into my Tornadus here, predicting him to go for a Spike, Leech Seed, whatever. I don't really care. I can just go out into Tornadus and probably fire off a Hurricane as he goes for the Taunt. Taunt is, I guess, good there to stop my Mega Aggron from protecting or anything like that, so I did just get the Toxic off on him. But like I mentioned, I didn't want to risk him getting off a Spike or anything for free. Going Tornadus there just seems like a pretty reasonable play on my end. I'm going to U-turn out here. He should not allow his Chestnut to stay in here and eat a Hurricane. Do a little bit of damage to this Primarina, but it doesn't give me a whole lot of intel on what he's running. Looks like he's running some HP, but I don't know how much HP, because rolls on U-turn on like that little damage are not very clear. So out comes Primarina, as out comes my Roserade. He's going to go out into the Crobat. Unfortunately, I miss a Leech Seed here. That would have been nice to get my Aggron back in and potentially force this Crobat to go for Roost as I go into Aggron, but unfortunately I do miss the Leech Seed, so I'm going to go out into Tornadus instead of my Aggron here, predicting him to potentially just U-turn out and figuring Tornadus had a decent matchup versus team, bar the Manectric, but he just goes straight for the Air Slash, getting some decent chip damage off on my Tornadus. But if I can remove this Crobat, he has no way to defog my hazards anymore. So he goes for Super Fang here. I'm just going to stay in and throw off a Hurricane. Thankfully, I do connect this Hurricane. Do some big damage to this Crobat. So looks like he's pretty offensively invested based on the Calcium Iron Head and that Hurricane damage. And I will perfectly well trade this Tornadus for this Crobat, but here I am guaranteed out of range of max special attack Air Slash, which it looks like he actually might be on his Crobat, so I'm guaranteed to live this. I think the max roll is like 33.8%, and I'm at 35, so as long as I don't get flinched or crit, I do knock out this Crobat, and then the next time I get my Roserade in to set a Toxic Spike, it is there to stay unless I elect to defog later. So I am perfectly content to go for that trade here. I'm just going to go for Knockoff. It guaranteed hits the Crobat and knocks it out, as well as would remove an item from anything coming in unless it's the Manectric. And like I mentioned, it was guaranteed to live that Air Slash. So Tornadus here picks up the KO on the Crobat. Huge for me. I can always regenerate my Tornadus later on. Even if he gets up Stealth Rocks, I can come in on the Palossand and get a defog off later in the game. Manectric comes out here. I obviously have to switch out, but I'm still afraid that he's going to predict my Piloswine and go for an Overheat. So again, the best middle ground play is to go for Hydreigon. I should resist whatever hit he's going to go for, as he actually reveals the Toxic on this as well. Obviously trying to catch my Piloswine upon switching there. Good thing I brought him Hydreigon instead. From full, I can potentially knock out this Manectric with a Draco Meteor, so what I'm just going to do is go for Dark Pulse. It's guaranteed damage on anything on his team. I'm pretty sure the Primarina is coming out, but I do still want to scout out its set. I see 11% there, which guarantees that this is a Salt Vest Primarina, unless he's running like max HP, max Spadef, in which case he shouldn't be able to do too much damage to me anyways. But I'm thinking like modest Assault Vest here, so I'm going to go out into Roserade, obviously predicting a Moonblast. Dick makes the right play and goes for Ice Beam, but I do live that, and actually am kind of likely to live another one. I can't remember what the exact calc is on this, but he doesn't want to obviously risk taking a whole bunch of damage off on his Primarina. His best play is probably to go out into Chestnut, because it will resist a Grass-type move or be immune to Sludge Bomb, so What I'm going to do here is just set my Toxic Spike. My Toxic Spike is up and his team is grounded. So obviously I've already gotten the Toxic off on the Chestnut, but spreading it around the rest of his team is going to mean that I can whittle him down with Protect on my Vaporeon and my Aggron. And I'm just going to go for extra Sensory here, get some good chip damage off on the Chestnut. Roserade did its job, it kept its Toxic Spike up, and he actually goes for the Z Stone Edge on his Chestnut, trying to catch my Tornadus. Didn't really have a reason to make that play there. Just getting the big chip damage off on Chestnut was nice enough. Put it in range of Dark Pulse for my Hydreigon. Obviously, after this toxic damage, he's only at 6%, and I can just freely go out into my Tornadus and click U-turn, start to regenerate a little bit more health. I don't think he'd save the Chestnut at this point anyways, and U-turn should kill, even if he's max Fizz Def. So Chestnut goes down, and my Tornadus is back up to a pretty reasonable amount of HP after this Regenerator round, and his entire team, as I mentioned, is grounded. So here I have a couple options on what I want to U-turn out into. What I want to do is force out the Primarina first, because if I force out the Primarina to take this Toxic Spike, as I do, it's going to be the fastest thing to get whittled down, which is great for me, great for my Hydreigon. The Chestnut's gone. The Primarina is now on a timer. Late game Dark Pulse sweep is looking kind of feasible here. So going to go out into Vaporeon, obviously predicting a water type move, but like I mentioned in my team builder, I guaranteed live 2 energy balls from non-choice specs Primarina, and I'm pretty certain this thing is not choice specs based on that Assault Vest looking Dark Pulse damage. So going out into my Vaporeon for free here. Since he's poisoned, I can freely just wish all over his face. There's not a whole lot he can do about it. Obviously Entei and Palossand don't want to come in on me anyway, so he kind of has to go Manectric, and that being poisoned is also really good for me. So I'm going to wish up here and just start to chip down this Manectric a little bit. Make sure it's in range of Dark Pulse as well. I don't want to have to click Draco down the stretch here. 1, because I could miss, and 2, because it's going to lower my special attack stat. If I can get the Primarina down to a low enough range or knocked out, I should just be able to spam Dark Pulse through him at this point. The Palossand should drop, I think, from full, honestly, because that thing's Spadef is not very good, and the Entei is in range of a Dark Pulse being at 50%. So just going to start whittling down his team here with some Protect and stuff. I don't want to risk Piloswine taking damage here again, because if I just come in and click Earthquake, he doesn't have good switch-ins, so I'm going to just sack off my Mega Aggron here, but he lets go for Toxic this turn. That's great for me, gets a little bit more chip damage off on this Manectric. I'm going to get even more by going for Protect with my Aggron, but he does switch out into the Palossand. Again, that thing being poisoned, also really good for me. And I can still save this Aggron, because with Toxic Spikes up, Protect is really kind of putting a number in on his team. Like, I get 12% off every time Aggron comes in and doesn't die, so I get to swap out Aggron here, save it for later as potential sack fodder for the Manectric again. Just go out into my Tornadus here as he is going for the Stealth Rocks. And I don't need my Toxic Spike anymore. Like, I've gotten Toxic on the 3 most important things to get the Toxic off on. I'm not too concerned about whatever that Entei wants to do at this point in the match. It drops to a Dark Pulse anyways, unless he's like Assault Vest Entei. So I'm going for Defog here, getting rid of my Toxic Spike, but also getting rid of his Stealth Rocks. What this also does is guarantees my Hurricane will be 100% accurate this turn if he does elect to stay in. He doesn't really have great switch-ins to Hurricane in general since his Manectric is so low. So he gets me with the Toxic, not a big deal. Tornadus' job is mostly to pivot around anyways. Gonna go for the Hurricane here and knock out this Palossand. I still do have my Z in the back in case I need to get some big damage off on the Primarina or guaranteed KO the Entei. But Tornadus is still incredibly valuable to me at this point in the match. Obviously, he has to go to Manectric here to revenge kill me. So, yeah, Manectric comes out here. Again, I don't want to risk my Piloswine taking a bunch of damage for no reason, especially, like, if he kills my Mega Aggron, I just get to go Piloswine and click Earthquake for free. It's going to do a huge number on his team at this point. So, Volt Switch is there, kills my Aggron, no big deal. He's going to go out into something. If he goes out into Entei, I can just go into Vaporeon and spam Scald at him. If he goes out into Primarina, as he does, it's going to take a little bit more poison damage because he did Volt Switch this turn, and I can pretty freely go out into my Vaporeon as well and just basically sit on him. Even Manectric's probably not going to be able to deal with me at this point because I can just Wish Protect in its face as it dies to poison, and it's the same deal with the Primarina here. So he can go for Energy Ball all he wants. Unless he gets a Spadef drop, he is no threat to me at all. So I'm going to go for the Wish there. And just kind of stall out this Primarina. Like, it's poisoned. It's about, what, 4 turns now until it dies. So I'm just going to Wish Protect. Like, I have no reason to make any other play. What's he going to do? Go into Entei? Like, if he goes into Manectric as I go for a Protect, he's going to take not only the turn of poison when he comes in, but also the turn of poison as I Protect on the next turn. And I still have Piloswine in the back to be a good switch into that thing. So Primarina is now getting pretty close to in range of, actually, I think if it swaps in on a Dark Pulse now, Dark Pulse plus poison plus another Dark Pulse will KO it. So next time my Hydreigon comes in, it's going to claim a kill. But for now, I can just sit here and Wish Protect with Vaporeon all day long. Goes out into Entei, doesn't matter, I just Protect up, start Scalding. Like, there's literally nothing he can do to stop me right now, unless he gets like a crit Spadef drop, well, at least a Spadef drop, and even then I can still Protect for another turn after he gets the Spadef drop. So Vaporeon's going to be pretty healthy here coming out of this when all is said and done. He's got one more turn of Poison Timer left on his Primarina, and fortunately he pretty much has to go out to Manectric to force me out. So what I'm going to do here is just Wish again with my Vaporeon as the Primarina goes for Moonblast and dies. I really didn't have any reason to risk anything on that turn going to like Hydreigon or Tornadus, but he kind of just had to hope for a choke there, I think, anyways. But Vaporeon is perfectly healthy here, still able to take on the Entei as it needs to, and Manectric has to come out here. I can freely Protect here if I want to and catch this Wish, but I decided to go to Piloswine instead because no matter what he clicks here, I'm getting a kill with Piloswine. So he goes for the Thunderbolt here, I think, predicting me to stay in and try and catch the Wish, go for Protect, whatever. But I'm going to go right into Piloswine here. Even if he overheated, I would have gotten back to full health, and if he Toxic at this point in the match, it doesn't matter. Earthquake, like I said, is picking up a KO no matter what he elects to do here. It does fire off an Overheat here, does some pretty good damage to my Piloswine. I think it was actually at Modest on his Mega Manectric, which is a good call that I wouldn't run Max Speed Tornadus because I really didn't have a reason to. So he did run a Modest Manectric there, but Earthquake, like I said, gonna pick up a KO here, and now the Entei is gonna come out. Entei cannot lock itself into one move to beat my whole team. Like if he's Choice Scarf, yeah, he could kill my Piloswine, but he's not going to kill my Hydreigon or my Vaporeon, and like, there's nothing his Entei can do at this point. It looks like he actually either forgot his EVs or was just not an offensive variant of Entei, but he's going to drop to an Earthquake here, and we're going to pick up a 4-0 victory. Piloswine coming in and cleaning up the game with 2 KOs. Very nice. That puts us at 6-0 at this point in the season. Doing pretty well to start off here. Still got some very tough games coming up on tap. I believe next week we play Dave. We're currently in the middle of the bye week for the VPL here, so everybody's got a little bit of a break to try and make up their games, and then we'll get back into it with week 7. I think, like I mentioned, one more win will probably clinch us a playoff spot. Maybe 2 to be safe, and then to get the #1 overall seed, I'll probably have to win a lot more because Jeff is nipping at my heels. He is also undefeated to this point in the season, and he's still on tap for us later. I think we might play him in week 8 or 9, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, GG to Dick. I felt like the Toxic Spike just really killed you this game. Love Crobat as a Pokemon, but it's not a grounded poison type, and the kind of best way to remove the Toxic Spikes is Natural Cure Starmie or Defog on Crobat. So once the Crobat went down, I knew I could win this game by just getting off some poisons and going for Protects. Not the most glamorous way to win games, I know, but, you know, I play my win cons here. If I'm playing stall, I'm playing stall. Like, that's just how it is. Sorry for the stall, but that's the game. So my best way of winning this game was getting up Toxic Spikes and then clicking Protect a whole bunch. If my best way of winning a game is going out to Hydreigon and clicking Choice Specs Dark Pulse like it was in week 1, that's what I'm going to do. But if it's going out into Vaporeon and clicking Wish Protect 6 times, that's what I'm going to do. So picking up the win there, whatever way we can. Still only 37 turns this game, but definitely a big win for us. Keeping the momentum rolling to this point in the season. Trying to go on a strong note here in the VPL, so hopefully we can continue undefeated here. That would be super hype for a way to end my VPL career, but you know, it's all good, man. I'm just having fun playing in the league. This is probably my favorite team that I've drafted in the VPL, or at least the most complete team that I've drafted in the VPL. Really kind of nice mix of bulk and offense. Got the Wish Pass from Vaporeon. Like, just have really enjoyed using this team to this point in the season, and I'm not really sure I'm going to make any transactions before the week 8 deadline. I don't even know when the deadline is. I think it's week 8, but I don't even think I'm going to make any transactions with this team. We're just going to ride it out, see how we do for the rest of the season, and I hope you guys continue to tune in for more. So thank you very much for watching to this point if you did, and I'll see you guys in another video. Later.